20 years ago, the biggest story here was the three-way Democratic slugfest for Syracuse mayor. The primary set for September 11th. It didn't happen that day. Not much did, as most of America sat paralyzed by shock and fear as terrorists attacked America. News Channel 9's Jeff Kulikowski talked with a man very busy on 9/11/2001, close literally and figuratively to the day's events, which are still etched vividly in his mind to this day.
The calm of an early fall day already shattered by a hijacked plane slamming into one of the Twin Towers by the time Bill Smullen got out of his daily high-level State Department meeting. Rushing to his office, he then saw the second plane pierce the upper floors of the other World Trade Center tower.
So I knew something was clearly wrong. I quickly called my counterpart, chief of staff in the White House, and they were scrambling for, what does this mean? What should we do?
Smullen was then chief of staff to Secretary of State Colin Powell.
It wasn't long thereafter, about 9:30 or so, when I looked out my window and looked across the Lincoln Memorial to the Pentagon, a place I had worked in for 10 years. Smoke was billowing out of the Pentagon.
The third hijacked plane crashing now in the nation's capital, and indications a fourth plane was taken over by terrorists still in the air. Potential targets: the White House, Capitol Building, and State Department, where Smullen was, now in a crisis meeting with top officials.
Rich Armitage, the deputy, and I decided we need to evacuate this building. The thousands of people in it need to go home immediately. I think I feared for more for America that fateful day than I did with my life.
By evening, President Bush had convened his cabinet,
and they were bringing bodies out.
Rumsfeld was there, Powell was there, Condoleezza Rice, and what they concluded was, this is an attack on America. We must respond in kind.
The United States military has begun strikes.
In October, the U.S. invaded Afghanistan, and by December, the Taliban had fled the country. Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda ran to hide in Pakistan.
When we were convinced that he had gone to Pakistan, and we knew that through intelligence, we should have gone home.
And Smullen says negotiated with Pakistan to send in a quick strike force to get bin Laden. Instead, the war in Afghanistan just ended, nearly 20 years later. It's not the only way life has been altered by 9/11 the past 2 decades.
We lived in fear for many months after 9/11. There is still fear in America. I talk to people who say, could it happen again? Could it happen again? Well, it could, but I don't think it's likely.
Look over your shoulder.
Because of safeguards put up.
Barriers have been put up. All sorts of boundaries have been erected. All sorts of agencies have been activated. We are now focused not on conventional threats like the Soviet Union, but on unconventional threats like the terrorists.
But as time has rolled on, memories of the day America was attacked have faded.
Well, our memory is strong on the anniversary day, but it fades between the 11th of September one year and the 11th of September the next year or prevailing year. So we need to do a better job of remembering what happened.
7 has responded. What channel would you like us on?
Smullen says for him it's hard not to think about that dark day often, but especially on the 11th of every September.
I think deeply on that day for 20 years, every 9/11, right up until 2021. I, relive it in ways that cause pain because I felt we didn't do the right thing. And we're living now, all of the attention, all of the criticism is on fault. Where did we go wrong? When in fact, we're not looking at history with what we could have done. And the reason why that's important is we never want to do this again.
And why never forget means just as much or more now as it did when it became a vow for so many in the days and weeks after September 11th, 2001. Jeff Kulikowski, News Channel 9.